This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends. This is an ongoing show. We talk about everyone's favorite MOBA-style battle game. This is a interesting week for us. We got a lot of changes we sort of talked about last week that are finally coming on to live. Of course, had the Twisted Treeline beta that launched with the patch that came out yesterday. Well, actually this morning, come to think of it.
Woo! We are on time for stuff.
Yeah, buddy. So we got all the cool new changes that are coming in with the beta that, of course, completely replaced old 3s. No, not even a sign of old 3s. There is, of course, a new skin or two that came out while we weren't looking. We have some really cool sort of little tidbits that came with the patch, sort of some like tip-like things. Some more information regarding the skins that are coming out with the Shadow Isles patch, as well as the Halloween patch.
And some information about the Tribunal.
Ooh.
Again.
So the most interesting thing by far, probably the thing you guys have been playing non-stop, is the new 3v3 Twisted Treeline. There's a lot of cool stuff that came out with it. The first and obvious change is the entire map is new, it's refitted, it's different.
It looks a lot better.
It's very sleek and optimized for play, and there's a lot of cool new mechanics that come with that.
The first main mechanic is, in fact, the game in the middle is a platform that increases speed just like in Dominion. It replaces the red buff from the old Twisted Treelines. And on each side in the middle of the map, in front of both the purple and the blue nexus, is a platform you can stand on. And each one gives a different buff. For having one of two buffs on the map, you get a +4.
+4 for each kill you get on the map. And for controlling 2 of the shrines, you get that +4 to kills. And you get 10% bonus AD and AP.
And don't you get, like, armor and magic resistor?
You do not, unfortunately.
No? Thought I saw that on there. Well, I am wrong. Now, they redid the map a bit. All the jungle is now just in the center of the map. There isn't any jungle up top. The only thing above the top lane is the new mob.
Vilema! Really scary guy.
He is a lot harder to do than Dragon.
Much harder. Dragon used to be a very easy solo kill, especially with certain junglers. Now he's very difficult. He has a cleave. He has a really cool web mechanic. So it makes him very difficult to avoid, while at the same time preserving a level of difficulty where he's rewarding. He's not nearly as rewarding as Dragon. The Dragon buff was amazing, and you got 280 gold for your whole team. You don't get as much gold, and the buff, it's good amounts of health regen and mana regen, as well as the buff that wolves used to give on the map, like when wolves were a mob.
Yeah, and since they have the platform in the middle, I wouldn't assume it to give a Ghost either.
It does not, unfortunately.
But the one thing I forgot to mention is that even though you don't get enough money from getting Vile Mod, you get 80 gold every time you capture a point.
Yeah, every time you capture one of the altars, you get an altar. You get 80 gold. Now, whenever you capture an altar, it's locked out for 90 seconds, which means it's not capturable. So you can use this for some very strategic play. However, it's usually best to try and rush them because that gold advantage can pile up very quickly, especially if your team's on top of it. And you can force a lot of team fights around them.
Yeah, there's been so many occasions where there's team fights. We actually had a game where I was playing, we were just protecting our shrine, and they came in and invaded, and because they were able to get the second shrine so early in the game, they had a massive advantage that we couldn't recover from, which is something that's nifty, but it shouldn't be that dramatic as it.
I think the thing is that the bonuses aren't amazing. I mean, it's only 10% to each attack stat. I think the main thing is just that map control, because it gives them vision on it and slightly around it, so it can really mess with your jungle and gank attempts. So it's a big thing with map control, since there are no longer wards on the map. You can't purchase
That's
wards
another
anytime.
thing that I kind of disagree with. A lot of us were talking about how there's no wards in the map. Wards, especially on this map, it's kind of dumb not to have.
Well, the map is so small. It's so very small. I mean, honestly, you could have one ward on each side of the map, and you would literally have full coverage of the map.
But then they should have adjusted it with like some smaller wards, wards that gave smaller vision, kind of like about the size of the platforms itself, just a small dot like that, and that you can have around that lasts probably about half the time as a normal ward, because just not having any sight whatsoever is very, very annoying.
Well, you can get sight. is the thing.
Yeah.
There are two very distinct options for it. If you want that side up, you can get Hextech Sweeper, or you can get the new Wriggles item.
Hextech Sweeper.
Hextech Sweeper, it's the Dominion item.
Oh!
Cooldown reduction, mana, and your abilities reveal stealth. And whenever you do an ability, or whenever you activate it, it produces a small area. They added a couple of Dominion items to it, and that one was one of them, I believe.
The other one was the Ionic Spark, I think.
Yes. Well, Ionic Spark is actually on all maps now.
Real? Oh, yeah.
But they changed, like, Bloodthirster. It's the Dominion equivalent now. There's a couple of items, but there's a lot of options. I mean, as far as vision goes, I mean, I've seen a lot of Teemo play. Maokai's viable on this map now, so I'm sure we'll see tons of Maokai.
I should have played Maokai with that game we played. I should have.
Helped. And then, of course, you could always put down some shake-up boxes. There's tons of options for vision, but they wanted to discourage it, so that way, I think if there were rewards available, jungling would be so difficult, because just as it's easy to gank on this map now, it's even easier to get into the jungle and mess with people.
Yeah.
There have been so many times where I just pop my head into the jungle real quick in lane phase, spot their jungler at half HP, and I'm like, oh, there's a free kill. Thanks.
Like we said, there's a lot of new items. One of my favorite is the Blackfire Torch. With Singed, oh my goodness, this thing is stupid. What it does is it gives you 50 ability power, 300 health, 350 mana, and your spells burn an additional 5% of the target's current health in magic damage for 3 seconds, halved in AoE damage. With Singe ability, it does activate, and it just burns through opponents. It's stupid.
Yeah, Singe is even more threatening on this map, which I didn't think was possible, but hey, there it is.
A lot more casters I've been seen in this map. I've seen some Karmas, I've seen some, Luxes, some Brands.
Well, yeah, with Wooglets, it's a lot easier for casters to get around. I mean, Teemo with Wooglets is really frightening because he's just turbo Teemo. It's scary.
It's really fast.
But the item I've seen the most is probably Lord Van Dam's Pillager. I've been using the heck out of this item. I love it, love it, love it on Garen. I've been getting up to 70 flat armor penetration. It's absurd. I just chop through people, and it's amazing to get that much armor pen and have it be viable. And the spell vamp on it makes for some really fun and cheesy builds. I love this item to death. But it's very hard for people to understand which champions it's appropriate for and which build it's appropriate for, because it's kind of an expensive item. And for only 40 AD and 350 health, if you're not making use of the armor pen, it's not a great pickup. But I see a lot of people with no armor pen in their build just picking it up, and it's kind of a bad choice for them.
Yeah, because it's only like 20 armor pen, and just if you're not going to stack with other armor pen, you're essentially just getting a 10% cooldown and 10% vamp.
Yeah, and most champions can't even make use of the spell vamp either.
Yeah.
So it's a really tantalizing item.
That's one that would probably be really good in like Mordekaiser, Shen.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
They have on-hit effects, but it's usually more magic-oriented. I mean, the auto-attacks Shen wants are his key strikes. The auto-attacks Mordekaiser wants are his Ace of Spades. So the armor pen's kind of useless because that's a magic coefficient.
True, but the spell
characters that kind of want that, characters like Garen, characters like Talon, even characters like Pantheon. Because Pantheon would love this item.
With
spell vamp, yeah, he's already a caster, essentially. And he already has a little bit of armor pen and a really cool crit table.
Riven's another one that would be.
Riven is scary with this.
Riven is way too overpowered on this map, I gotta say. Just her shield and just the way she's so mobile on it,
But I think the speed trine will help kind of diminish the effect of her mobility.
Not really, because she's chasing, she jumps on top of you right when you're on the speed shrine, and she's right on top of you with it.
I know, but the fact that you're moving 20% faster, her jumps don't get to move that 20% faster. So it's harder to catch up. But still, the other items, the Spectral Lantern, Wicked Hatchet, I'm sure we'll see lots more play with them. I have yet to see someone use Overlord's Bloodmail.
I have too. I was contemplating a couple of games, but
I don't know. I just feel like the item's too expensive for what it is.
Yeah, it needs to be knocked down a bit. A few other gripes I gotta mention is sometimes, unless you know where the brush is, sometimes it kind of blend in with the walls. I've kind of noticed. Like, there's some places where I didn't notice the brush. Like the first time I was playing.
Yeah, it's got a very sort of blended.
It's gray on
palette.
gray.
Yeah,
it's gray on gray. It needs to be a little bit more colorful so someone can notice. Like, hey, that is grass.
Yeah, that was the good thing about old Twisted Treeline is the colors were very stark, so it was easy to tell what was what.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like if they bring it into like a purplish gray, like something that's more visible. But right now, that's That's the main gripe I have with it. It's because you're not used to the map, and you don't know where all the placements for it is, or how far away the brush is, and you can't see it because of the color palette.
Indeed. But this is just the first day, guys. Definitely check the map out for yourselves. It's tons of fun. I mean, I've had some of the most fun I've had in a while. It's almost like when Dominion came out, running around with the new items. Having a Darius build with that blood sword in it is fantastic. And I've had new life with Garen with that armor pen build. It's just great. But let's talk about the patch notes a little bit.
Blitzcrank has had a little bit of a nerf. He has reduced his base health and health per level down a little bit. It's not dramatic, but it's still enough to kind of early game. He's not so much of a threat. Evelyn's Angry Embrace ability ratio has been reduced by 1% every 100 ability power from 1% every 50 ability power. So, again, another small tweak to kind of keep her, damaging,
but not, blowing people up in 2 hits. Yeah. Ezreal has had his attack speed reduction on Essence Flux taken away. This will make him less of a duelist, more of a poker. I think this is a good change.
A lot of people are not happy about this one.
Well, yeah, people think the problem with Ezreal is that he's too squirrely, and this doesn't really address that issue. But who knows? He was a pain. I had a pain fighting this Ezreal this morning, but one thing I noticed is he wasn't out dueling me, at least. He was just poking me down and then pursuing me, which is what I see Ezreal doing instead of just going, well, your attack speed is reduced, I'm just going to fight you. Jace has had a lot of his damage reduced from Thundering Blow, his percent coefficient damage, and his flat damage has been taken down. Acceleration Gate's mana cost was also increased, so that way he has less lane sustain.
Leona, Mordekaiser, and Poppy had some, different changes. Leona had her Shield of Daybreak's cooldown match her tooltips. Mordekaiser's Mace of Space now deals damage to wards properly, and Devastating Blow on Poppy now deals damage to wards properly. Something that's nice to actually have, especially with Poppy getting the attack timer reset can be very helpful.
Rengar finally getting taken down a bit. I've had the Thrill of the Hunt nerfed, longer cooldown, shorter duration. Empowered damage on his Q has been taken down. Bone Tooth Necklace has had its damage taken down. Health regeneration has been reduced significantly to make him more dependent on his base lane sustain from his shout. So all around making Rengar have to focus on one area if he wants to do significant damage rather than excelling in all. Skarner was nerfed slightly, though I'm not sure where this came from, but reducing his crystalline exoskeleton so he won't be able to move around as quick. Sona has had her base armor and health reduced, so that way she can't poke as much without suffering some serious drawbacks. Syndra, of course, getting some usability things where she's a little bit easier to use. She has a little kind of cool bugs and buffs to her, so that way you can sort of manipulate everything a little bit faster and get more damage out in time.
And minions do not get stuck in terrain anymore, which I've seen before, and it's very, very annoying.
Indeed.
I had one in the middle river on the left side. He was stuck. No one could attack him, so there was just a minion trying to slowly poking at people. It was silly.
Nice. Tristana got some usability fixes, as well as making her Buster Shot reduce mana. And Explosive Shot now matches her increased attack range, which is a good fix. Trundle having one of his 6 animation bugs fixed finally, so there's some good news. They reduced the mana cost on Rabbit Bite. Trundle still needs a lot of work. They need to change the way Rabbit Bite works, and they need to just make it so that way he's usable without having to be blocked by his own mechanics. A couple of item changes. Deathfire Grass nerfed again. Phage reduced in effectiveness for ranged guys. Trinity Force suffering the same nerf, as well as Frozen Mallet, funny enough. Hextech Sweeper is, like we said, it's been added back in. And they increased the duration to 10 seconds, as well as making the ability power a little bit higher. So that way it's actually a good choice.
Now, one of the other things people have been talking about is the Harrowing ward skins will now be available to be unlocked in the store in the Wards tab. Unlocking a ward skin allows you to use this in-game for the next 7 days. Multiple weeks can be stacked for an individual ward skin. When activated in the store, the ward skin cosmetically changes both sight and vision wards. From what this sounds, we're not going to have like a separate tab which we can choose what the ward skins look like in like a priorities option menu or something on your page, and it sounds like what skin you buy for the ward is the one you're going to get.
Yeah, no matter if you want to use it or not, which is silly, and a lot of people are still mad about this, that it's rental content that you don't even get to control properly.
A lot of people have been talking about this, and there was a post about it. I don't know who said anything about it. And what Riot said was this is an experiment, and what they wanted, why they have it like this, is to see how many people are going to be interested in it and how they can improve the system. And if this is something people don't want, that after the year's over, it's just going to vanish and just kind of phase itself out over a certain amount of time. And again, that's just something that doesn't make sense, especially me, because I was about to buy every single one of those ward skins originally, and now I'm kind of hesitant to buy any of them, but at the same time I want to show that we want something like this. So it's one of those iffy catch-22 situations.
Indeed. A couple of co-op versus AI changes, nothing really amazing there. As far as general changes go, they've changed it so that way you can still recall, even with the Dragon Doll on you. This is a great change. I'm really excited about this. Item cooldowns are now changed to be that more blue spell refresh icon. It's a little bit easier to read, and it's easier to tell what's coming up and when.
That's probably one of my favorite changes, especially since with a lot of these new items that have activated abilities.
And then you were mentioning this earlier. What's this about game tips?
Game tips. This is something that's on the PvE right now, and it's kind of like when you log into World of Warcraft or in any other game while you're loading, it pops up with small little interesting tips, like you're loading into Twisted Treeline or something like that, and at the bottom it's just like, did you know that Nautilus can swim through the air? He's weird like that.
So it's sort of like in like Oblivion or Elder Scrolls or any of the Warcraft games.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like on bot games only, or if this is going to load up when you are in the load screen. It's just going to pop up underneath or in between the two. Just it gives something nice to read. Hopefully,
I'd like to see cycling tips, honestly.
Yeah, that would be.
Some people take a long time to load.
Also,
next technology.
Yeah,
computers there
with like a crank on it. Oh no, I'm running low. One other thing on the PvE, there is a new bot. Mr. Vagar is now on the bot lineup. So you're gonna see
he can get one shot, just like everybody else.
He's gonna have such good stuns, and he's gonna just be like, I know exactly when to burn you down.
Very good news. But
oh, God.
That's it for the patch update. Moving on to skins. Rocketeer Tristana finally came out, but what else is happening with skins this week?
They had a poll up on the forums this week about what we'd like to see out of the Shadow Isles skins. Now, there are two separate skin sets coming out around the same time. We're going to have the Shadow Isles and the Harrowing skins. The Shadow Isles skins are the Maokai, Twisted Fate, and Hecarim skins. And what they announced is that these three skins are going to be Legacy, which means they're going to go away the same time the Halloween skins are going to come out. So, when these are going to be just like any other, holiday skins. So it's a lot of people wanted these to be kind of a milestone thing. Like, you were here when Twisted Treeline was revamped and you got one of the associated skins. So I kind of like that thing, especially since Maokai is one of my favorite characters. I get to have another skin that I can hold over people's heads. But it should have, especially since Hecarim, this is his first skin since he was released. It kind of sucks that the only other skin is a limited edition skin, and Maokai's skins are essentially the same way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to rush people out to go spend that money to get those icons as well.
Sweet. But let us know what you guys think. Do you think this should be a Legacy? The poll's already been decided, unfortunately, but do you agree with this decision? Moving on to the next bit of information. Again, they are updating the Tribunal once more. It's like the 5th time this year, isn't it?
I stopped keeping track.
But they adjusted accuracy and streaks in the Justice Review to be a little bit more precise. Player ratings over Justice have been reset. And of course, they fixed a few bugs and issues regarding notifications. Nothing amazing, mostly just keeping it set and balanced so that way people aren't motivated for the wrong reasons. Hopefully this will make their Tribunal system even more fantastic. A couple of things are coming out very, very soon. Elise is coming out, soon-ish.
Hopefully, they're saying next week, but that's a day before Halloween, and hopefully they get the skins out later this week or something like that, or else...
Hopefully they get it out like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of time for Halloween. It's the 25th, 26th.
Yeah, we're already a week away. And
I'm excited for Halloween, actually.
We got all those video games with their Halloween
games.
Because we're too old to go trick-or-treating, and there's really...
Are we?
In the area I'm in,
Are we?
Dude, we got the cops called on us one year.
Oh, yeah.
That was like 2 years ago, and we got our cops called on. We're sketchy folks, ladies and gentlemen.
I like to kidnap children.
We're going to move on to our own section here now. Our first question this week comes from someone on the forums on a Reddit post when I was on there talking about it. I can't remember his name, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I couldn't find it. But he was talking about how that the old Twisted Treeline is gone before the end of the season. And how we feel about that. And he was getting a lot of answers, so I thought I'd bring this up. I think it's dumb that you can't even play ranked at this point in time. And the season's ending November 7th, and that gives 2 weeks for people to still get gold. And a lot of the threes players aren't able to get the
time that they need right now. I played a lot of threes the night before it happened, just to, get my fill of the old classic Treeline. And I was surprised to see that it's only the beta version is available with blind pick. There's no draft mode. There's not even ranked. And there's no option for the old one, not even in custom games. I think it's kind of crazy and a little bit short-sighted to just completely discard this older game type. But
it's still in beta, so you never know. They might bring it back as, like, there'd be Twisted Treelines, old school and new school, and, like, the old school one can only be played in normal draft, or normal draft, and then you have the new one that's ranked draft. And so they might do something like that. They might keep it around. I don't see why they wouldn't, because, some people might like the new map better than the old map, and
indeed.
And having more variety in a game where people keep bickering for maps is kind of a good thing. Cough, cough.
Yeah, maybe. But who knows? Hopefully they'll heed the cries of the living and the dead.
And justice.
And whatnot. Next question comes from Ray328. He says, was the pineapple supposed to be left in? It was funny, more or less. Pineapple is a code word we use
for my editing skills.
Indeed. When we make a mistake or when we otherwise trip over ourselves, we shout out, pineapple!
Great, now I'm going to get confused when I'm doing
I
this.
hope you get confused.
Did he mean that or did he not mean that? I don't know.
And we use it as an editing trip so we can sort of link up everything like that.
It has a distinct sound wave kind of thing if you're looking closely enough at it when we say it, so I kind of recognize it when I'm editing stuff. But unfortunately, since it was a 45-minute episode last night and I had problems with the audio and visuals, I missed it. I got everything else, but I missed that.
Indeed. But
it was intentional.
It totally.
Totally.
We all forgive Will Joseph here.
That's not my name.
Oh.
Pineapple.
Oh!
Oh. My life is useless.
We love questions every week. We usually try to answer 1 to 2 every week. We take questions about us, about the show, about League of Legends, meta changes, champions, anything you really want to ask about, we're happy to talk about on the show. And you can hear our sort of lowly opinions on it. We take them in our comments section below the video here, or you can send it to our email at spastigaming@gmail.com, or post them or PM them on our forums at spastigaming.com. There's a little icon in the top left on the homepage. Take you right to our forums there, and you can send it in.
The only thing we do not accept is YouTube messages, because I don't read them. It's mainly just spam telling me to look at 360 no-scope videos.
Check out my 360 scope video.
I had one guy trying to tell, like, it was a bot, and it was like, hey, sexy thing, check out an all-girls channel, and it was a guy talking.
Why didn't you check it out? It sounded sweet.
Shh.
It's been Axis.
And Water Elemental.
And, happy Halloween, dudes.
Dudes.
I'm
going as a Power Ranger.
No, you're not.